and welcome to the Small Business Solutions series presented by the Small Business Entrepreneurial Council. My name is Titonian Wallace Sr., and I'll be your host today. Today we have a great topic for you presented by Kevin McWhirter, titled Empowered Employees, Managing and Retaining Them, which I think is very relevant for everything that's going on today as well with the economy and all. Before we get started with the presentation, I'd like to thank our 2022 sponsor for the Small Business Solutions series, Yellow Dog Consulting, and the owner, Elizabeth Case. And we'll take this moment now to give our sponsor some time to say a few words. Elizabeth, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Titonian. Thanks, guys, for being here today. I really appreciate it. We being me and my yellow dog, Norm, who's being quiet while the Ridwell guy is outside, and our chocolate lab, Cliff, who's at daycare today for everybody's sanity, are proud to be sponsors of the Small Business Solutions series. At Yellow Dog Consulting, I focus on small business marketing. So getting all those systems and schedules in place for your business is where I help come in for you. A big piece of that is email marketing. I am a certified MailChimp partner. So the next time that you are working on your newsletter and it's driving you crazy, before you throw your computer out the window, give me a call. So I'll throw my website and a little bit more information in the chat. And I apologize that I have to scoot out. I apologize that I have to scoot out to another meeting. So thanks so much for being here today. And thanks, Kevin, for speaking.
Great, thank you, Elizabeth, and thank you for being a sponsor for the SBSS for 2022. And today we have Kevin McWhirter. My little brief blurb for him. Kevin, for 7 years, Kevin has been a trainer for Dale Carnegie. He holds a Master of Education in Adult Learning and is a graduate of Dale Carnegie High Impact Presentation. His presentation today is on empowered employees, managing and retaining them. I'll pass it to Kevin now to give a brief introduction of himself and what he does at Dale Carnegie, and then move right.
Right. Thank you, Titonian. So, yeah, Dale Carnegie, if some of you have, know that he wrote a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People. And according to Amazon, it's still on the top seller list of, books for self-help. And one of the unique things is that just last month, Dale Carnegie released the new edition of How to Win Friends and Influence People. We had the daughter of Dale Carnegie supervise kind of updating the material in the book to kind of apply to today's times, the language and some of the tools and stuff. So we're really excited that was just released here. Perfect timing. And then I was telling the group that about a week before this presentation, we just released an updated report on employee engagement, which we'll be looking at some of the information. So it's really going to be helpful to kind of see where we're at and what's going on. So talking about this is empowered employees, managing and retaining them. More than ever right now, we're having employee shortages. A lot of people are trying to struggle. How do I keep my employees? What do I do? And so we're going to look at the topics about, the pandemic, the great resignation, how it empowered employees. The power has shifted from the employer to the employee. Examine recent research done by us and other organizations. What can we do as leaders to increase the engagement in our workforce and keep our good employees from shifting off to another company? So, go into their headlines, labor markets upside down, we have shortages, the great resignation. What do we do to keep employees going? We see this all the time and hear about it. So what are we doing about it? And one of the things that's unique is that it's shifted. It's shifted the power, like I said, to the employees. And we want to take a look at this, but the pandemic really caused a change in the environment. And technology came out. This meeting is a perfect example of that. We've never had, meetings online before. Occasionally we had them. The companies out there, Zoom and Microsoft Teams, and all the different ones that are out there that are creating this online presence. It created a new change in what we do. It's a flexible workforce now. Employees are used to working from home or on computers. They are looking at, okay, I can control when I work and when I don't because of the fact that I can use online and I can take some time off and come back and don't have to be in the office and travel back and forth. They have personal needs and wants that they want to see, and work-life balance. It's really important. During the pandemic, a lot of companies had shortage of employees, so employees had to work extra hours longer than they expected. And now that's shifted, and it's now they don't want that. And we're fighting to keep that, keep those employees because we need them. We don't have enough employees to do that. I mean, perfect example of this is a restaurant right next door to my office building. They only open on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays because they don't have enough employees to fill the hours. And so they had to close down for 2 days a week, which costs them money and revenue. But what do you do when you don't have the manpower to keep it? How many of us are familiar with this? It's something that kind of went out of the wayside, but it really deals with employee engagement. Today's employees, physiological needs, yeah, we need the money. We need money to buy the things that we need: water, food, shelter, sleep, clothing. But we also have safety needs. And this goes at job. The job environment has changed now. And they want to feel like, they don't have to worry about somebody coming in and shooting them. They don't get bullied because of their, pronoun or their beliefs or their individuality. They want to feel like they're a part of an organization and that the organization, respects their position. And they want to be recognized for what they do and receive recognition, and not just that, hey, that a boy, but that was a really good job. I'm really impressed with what you did here, and kind of more in depth feeling appreciation. And then the last part is they want to know that they can become the best person they can be, and that there's training available for them to advance their career and move up. So these needs are here today, and we kind of put them aside and not realize that they are there. And big companies, small companies, all companies need to be focused back on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So, like I said, this is a new era, and the shift has gone to the employee. And when we look at this, there's more flexible workforce hours. They know that employers are short-handed, so they can demand flexibility of working, from home or working in the office. They want to have managers that like them and work with them and are flexible. They want benefits. They want all these things, and they want to believe in the organization, the values and the mission of the organization. If they don't have it, they'll just leave and they'll go to work for another organization. Last year, I talked about this. We had a gentleman who was an engineer for one of the biggest companies out there. And he left after 15 years of working there to go to work for another company, same pay, same benefits, same title. The only difference was that he could work from home on Mondays and Fridays because of childcare issues. But his current company wouldn't allow him to do that. So why, they have control over us is we have to understand that what they want now and going back to their needs. So we really need to focus on what does the employee want in order to keep him here. So our company just did the study. We just released this. 6,500 people responded in 20 countries. And our study was a little different than Gallup and Indeed. They did it, globally here, or excuse me, in the US, and they focused on, companies that were 500 plus employees. We actually went down to the smaller companies. We went to small restaurants, mom and pop shops, and we took, segments of all the industries and combined them together so that we got a more full range of what's going on. And you'll see that kind of demonstrated in this study here. So Gallup and us and about 4 other companies did the same surveys and studies on this. What is engagement? There's 3 levels of engagement. The first level is fully engaged. This is that employee that you really love to have. They're excited to work for you. They want to, create, they have great ideas. They come to you and say, hey, can we do this? Can we look at this? And they're the enthusiasm of you when you first started your company or you're in your organization. The next level is the partially engaged, and we need those. And you can see that's the majority of that. And those are the employees that come to work 9 to 5. They put in a good day's work. They'll stay late if you need them to. They do what they're told, but they aren't the creative person. They're just, I'm here. I want my paycheck. I'll do what you need me to do. Give me the opportunity to grow, and that's all they care about. And then the lower level is disengaged employees, and these aren't employees that are saboteurs of your organization, but we call them the whiny, sucky baby. Yes, that's a word that we made up at Dale Carnegie. They complain about everything. Oh, we got to do that again. That's a stupid thing. And they bring the morale down of the employees around you. And those are the ones that you really want to start to push up to that middle level and to get to that top level, because they are making and helping create a culture where employees want to leave, because they don't want to listen to other people whining about work and this, because they have enough problems going on with the economy right now. So when we compare it to our study, and like I said, we looked at some smaller companies, not just big global, big, huge companies, 29% in 2012, and now today it is 28%. So it's gone down, and it went up from 2012 and then came back down. So we're back to where we were in 2012. And if you look at this, it's really kind of disturbing why those numbers are going down. And it's because employers are looking at, hey, how do I survive? How do I make a profit? How do I push my employee, to get more out of them with less resources and for less pay? And that's the opposite they should be doing. They should be focusing on, how do I keep my employees? Because if my employees are doing the job I need them to do, and they're engaged and they're excited about working here, my productivity will go up, my profits go up. And sometimes, we get in that, survival mode where we have to stay focused on, how to survive instead of what's important. So our organization always wanted to focus on what drives engagement. And that's what we're going to look at today and spend a lot of time talking about. And there's two areas that, drive engagement: is organizational drivers and then support drivers. Organizational drivers are the direct relationship with your manager. Employees want a relationship with their manager, that they can talk to this person. He's human or she's human. They can relate to them. They have a friendship, and they feel like, it's a fun place to be there, and their manager understands where they're coming from. But they also want to believe in the leadership of an organization and the purpose and direction of the company, which is the vision and mission. Now, what's really surprising, these three were on the top list in 2012. You can go to Indeed, Glassdoor, Google, Monster, all of them, and these three will be in the top 5 reasons of driving engagement and why people leave, because they don't have a relationship with their manager, they don't believe in the leadership of the organization, and they feel like the values don't align with their values of the company. And so they go and find somebody else, another organization that meets their values. And it goes back to the hierarchy of needs. If they don't feel like they belong, they don't feel like the ship's going the right way, they're going to leave. They're going to go to some place where they have that. The other two, is balance with personal life and then work environment. These are added because here in this recent decade, we've seen, employment riots. We've seen shootings in companies and organizations. I have a company right now that's dealing with that, as we speak. They have an office back east where an employee, very disgruntled, very upset because he was being bullied at work, went in and shot 3 employees and killed them. And so, it is very important now that we look at, what is our environment? Are we allowing bullying to go on? And this goes to diversity and inclusion, because we need to understand that we have a changing world. We have to respect people's views and beliefs. We can't just stomp on them and say, well, you believe that, I don't, get, and tease them, because they will leave. So the other thing that tied into this is emotions. And we'll talk about this because this goes back to the hierarchy of needs, and we'll dive into it right now, is confidence. They want to know that the leaders have them, they have their back, and they want to know how they contribute to the organization. And people will say, oh, that's a millennial. And I'm like, no, it's not. This is the new generations. And yes, there's still some Xers and baby boomers in, the workforce, but more and more employees want to understand, how do they fit in? Are they contributing to the success of the organization, and feel like that they're a part of it? And then security, that goes back to what we just talked about, embracing that I can come to work. I don't have to have, people bullying me. I can, be the person I want to be, he, her, she, him, they, them, whatever it is. I mean, and they want to feel secure in their workforce, that they don't have to worry about somebody coming in and hurting them, or, shooting them, like we've had, going on all over the world. And then hopeful employees are encouraged that they are, given the opportunity to grow. This is one of the things that employees are holding over employers, is they know that there's a shortage, so they want to move up. And of course, the employer is looking at, well, hey, I need somebody in your position right now. I can't move you up until I get more people to come in and train them in your position. Then I can move you up. Well, they're going to look at a company that's going to give them that opportunity. And so we need to understand, as managers and owners, that, hey, we do have to have an opportunity to move them up. And even if we have to give up that position, what can we do to create that, flow, that the employee feels like, hey, I'm moving up, I'm getting trained, and I have the ability to, move up the ladder in the organization. Why are people quitting? Obvious question. One of the things that came out of the study, and we've heard this, in other organizations, is what's called quiet quitting. And is it really new? I can't, I would say no. I mean, it's been around forever. How can we combat this, and what is it? So it's a term given to employees that, show a sign of not being involved. They are asked their opinion. They go, yeah, I don't know. They don't speak up. They don't give ideas. That's the person that's starting to become disengaged. And if you notice that, as a manager, as an owner of a company, we need to sit down with that person and start talking to them and find out what we can do to encourage them, to keep them from jumping ship. It used to be, there's people out there right now that will come into a company, work there just to work there until they can find, a better place. They're just doing that, and they're leaving for no reason. They're just, hey, it was a job hop. And there's still some of that. And that's not a disengaged employee. That's somebody who's just trying to find their place in the workforce, but they need to work. So they just say, okay, I'll go work here, and then I'll quit when I find my job that I really need. And so, companies who will want driven employees, well, during the Great Resignation, like I said, we had a workforce leave, and an employee, and a perfect example is my son. He works for a company that builds the equipment for Intel on contract, and his boss quit. So they said, hey, we're going to promote you. And by the way, you're promoted, which is great, because that's one of his needs. He wanted to be promoted and got more pay. But not only do you got to do your boss's job, you still got to do your job. And then his boss that was above his boss who quit, he quit. And now he's doing a 10th of his job, his manager's position, and the job that he started for. And they're requiring more and more for him and not giving him the time to complete those assignments. So he quit and went back to work for a company he worked for before for lesser money in the same position that gave him more time to be, at home, spend time with his fiance, and do the things that he wanted to do. So this is very important. And, unfortunately, the rise of worker boundaries and the search for work-life balance means many employees are exhibiting quitting behaviors because they want to be a work-life balance. They don't want to work 70 hours a week. They don't want to feel like they have to stay overtime and work overtime. They want to be able to go home. And that was because of the pandemic. They were able to work from home. And now we're requiring everybody to come back to work in person. And some companies didn't have that option. We had to be there. So, look at this, we kind of down this, but quiet quitting really is a sign of a lack of engagement. And so our study showed that 70% still report satisfaction with their immediate manager. So why are they leaving? It's not just that issue alone. Well, managers don't understand that, hey, if only 38% of them are actually creating a relationship with their employees. And when you look at this, it says only 26% of the have relationships with their managers. So why, do 26% of the managers feel like they need to have relationships and the rest don't? It's kind of interesting going back and forth. We look at that number. It says 70% of the employees, that we researched said that they feel like they have a relationship with their manager. But when we did the study with the management, they said, no, I don't engage my employees. So there's somewhere is still a disconnect. And then the organizational purpose, talking about managers that, the research shows that only 33% of the employees believe in their company's mission. This is more of the issue than the relationship with the managers. It's still there. They want to like their managers. They want their managers to like them. But a lot of people are starting to look at the value and mission of a company. And if they don't believe in the values and mission of the company, they're not going to stay. They're going to find a new place. So how do we fix that issue? Because this is one of the bigger issues. Somebody come off mute and just say, what can we do to try and drive our mission and vision to get our employees feel like they're a part of that mission and vision? I do ask questions once in a while. How many of us have a vision or mission for our company where we work? So how many of your team members or employees were involved in creating that mission or vision? That's one of the issues that we have seen. I'm working with an organization right now that they have 2,500 employees. When you walk in there, you ask them, hey, what's the mission of this company? They said, I don't know. What's the vision? I don't know. And we are doing a team building event where the departments are coming together and creating new vision and mission. And then they're going to present it to the executive board. And then as a whole, the whole company is going to vote on what the new mission and vision of the organization is. That builds engagement in that the employees feel like they're part of the new mission and vision of the organization. And this is kind of the important part now is people want to know where we're going. They want to have flexible work hours. They want to be able to do things. And so, employees creating, what we call creativity, taking risks in their work, 67% report above average revenue growth. If you allow your employee to have the opportunity to create ideas and do things and take a risk, they're more engaged. They want to do this. And companies are seeing that they have a growth in their revenue. Companies in the top quartile of engagement have a 10% better customer loyalty, 18% rise in productivity, and an 81% drop in absenteeism. Absenteeism is another little indicator in your organization that you're disengaged and you have employees that are disengaged, because absenteeism goes up when an employee doesn't want to work there. They find excuse, I got cold, I'll just stay home. And Gallup did the study and they said $319 billion annually is lost to absenteeism. So if you have employees that have a tendency to take off work a lot because they're sick, something's going on, and it's a warning sign that we need to get involved with that employee and find out what is happening. And if we are, and we get them, to feel like they're engaged by letting them be creative, helping them, be part of the vision and mission of your organization, it puts it into action and they feel like they're part of the company. They have a say in what goes on. They feel part of the organization. They work harder. It increases your revenue. So strong leadership, empowered employees go together. We want empowered employees. We want strong leadership. Dale Carnegie wrote in his book, try honestly to see things from the other person's point of view and be sympathetic with their person's ideas and desires. Now, Here's a funny, kind of a anecdote for this is, when you think about, trying to honestly see from the other person's point of view, if there's a car accident, a police officer comes to the scene of the accident and he goes to the coroners with 4 witnesses, and every witness has a different story of what happened. And it's because of where they viewed the accident from. Well, think about this. When next time your employee comes in and talks to you about something, put yourself in their view. Don't see yourself as a manager, see yourself as an employee. Why are they concerned about this? What are they trying to, get out of this? And, it's really put on their shoes and, walk in their shoes to understand where they're coming from. Inflation, we were just talking about gas prices and what's going on. Yes, I have to keep up with inflation. If gas prices are more expensive here in Oregon, which they are compared nationally, maybe what I need to do as a manager is allow that employee to have the opportunity to work from home a couple of days so that that reduces that gas. Or maybe I give them a gas reimbursement allowance to help them, compensate, for the fuel that they have to spend to come to work. It's whatever it is. So thinking of that, looking at it from their point of view, being sympathetic with their ideas. How many times have you had somebody come up with a great idea and you go, that's stupid. No, I don't think we can do that. I would say challenge yourself to switch your position as a manager. If somebody comes to you and says, hey, I got this great idea. Can we do this, this, and this? Say, it sounds like you're onto something. Go get the evidence and the numbers to support it and bring it back to me. And if you can support it with your evidence, I don't see why we can't do that. Now you're empowering them to run with their idea and give you the evidence to show that it's a good idea. And if it's not, 9 out of 10 times the employee will come back to you and say, nah, I looked at the numbers and it just didn't work. That one time they'll come back to you and they say, you have a great idea, and it's still kind of a shaky idea. Listen to it, look at it, study it, and determine whether or not it's a great idea. But don't dismiss it right off, because you want your employees to feel like they're part of the organization. And when they have an idea, they can come to you and share it with you. So what do? Senior leaders need to set strategies and the vision and mission to, understand the struggles of employees, be in the organization, be in their shoes, create, work schedules that adapt to their style and what they need according to, what's going on in the economy. Give your managers, if you're a manager or you have managers, give the managers the tools to make the difference. Get them training in, skills development on how to be more engaging with an employee, or maybe it's how to manage or time management, different, tools that are out there. Look at flexible framework. Maybe you can't let employees work from home, but maybe you can give them, okay, well, why don't you work 3 days on, 3 days off, 3 days on, and that way they have, some flexibility in their work schedule. Or, hey, this Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, you work the 8 to 5 shift, and Tuesdays and Thursdays, you're going to have you work the evening shift. Whatever it is to help them feel like they have a flexible work environment. Training and learning. And this is not just skill development. This is give your employees training. I'm hearing this all the time. Employee starts a company, they work there for 2 months, they quit and go to work for somebody else. We, reach out and we've done surveys and talked to them, and two of the biggest organizations, Nike and Intel, have this similar problem. They have an employee come in and they leave because they didn't get the training that they need to do their job. Well, they couldn't give them the training to do their job because they had nobody to train them, and they're so short-handed. And that's the challenge that we have as owners and managers in small businesses, is we might not have somebody to train them. They're going to leave if they don't feel like they're being trained to do their job and given the skills and tools they need. So either you have to hire outside, your company to bring somebody in to train them for that position, or you need to figure out a way to get a training, in there so that they can do their job and they feel confident in their position. So bringing it all together, we looked at these drivers, and we have to go back to hierarchy needs. The employee has to feel confident that they have, the management has their back, that they can increase their, position in the organization, that they feel like they're part of the organization, they're safe, they're secure, they're not going to have, attacks at work for their beliefs and their style and what they believe in. They have a balanced work life and home life, and the environment is safe and secure, and they don't have to worry about any threats being there. Going back, we talked about the hierarchy needs. Focus on these. Put these into action into your organization. Find out what it is for each of your employees. What is the safety, and how do you want to feel like a part of the company? What do you want to do with the organization? And talk to your employees. That's the best thing you can do to find out what drives them and keeps them engaged in your organization. Adopt a human-centered policies and culture. Provide immediate managers with the tools. Leaders should support a flexibility work environment. Priority skill development, giving them the skills and a pathway to succeed in their job. So this is done, with this, and I'm going to open it up to questions. But as we, done this in the past, we've seen this many, many times, and it's still a current theme: is employees don't feel like they're engaged. High companies, big companies, small companies, it doesn't matter. We have to create that engagement. Who has a question?
Great, thank you, Kevin. So if you have questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask it, or raise your hand, or put it in chat. And I guess I'll go ahead and get started with the first question. So Kevin, you mentioned that employees want a sense of ownership and involvement in the company. But my question is that the case now with the demand, or increase for remote work compared to those that want to be in office? I would think do remote workers really want to be connected more, have a sense of ownership more, even though they aren't in office?
And they part of the study that we did, and I have a white paper on this, and if anybody wants a copy of it, I'd be glad to forward it to them. But they found that it was 50-50, and that 50% of the employees want to work from home but still want to feel part of the organization, and 50% of the employees want to be in presence. What was interesting was that when we asked the question to those same employees, the ones that work from home, the ones that work in the office, which one is more efficient for them, it was higher for working in the office. They said they feel like they were more efficient working in the office, but because of what's going on in the economy and the environment, they need to have that opportunity to work from home. So, why they said that, I don't know. I mean, that we didn't go in depth on that, but it was very interesting to see that 60% of them said they were more efficient, working in the office than they were at home. And that's probably going to your question, is they don't feel like they're part of the organization working from home. So how do we do that? If you're going to allow your employees to work from home, how do you make them feel part of a company?
So, but from being at home, I can see how potentially, if someone in office says they're more productive and efficient there, I would kind of assume at home there are more distractions. You're more likely to be pulled away from your task to deal with things at home, maybe some last minute house chore that you feel I can do now, or kids or things like that. So I can see that. And
it's funny is when they did the studies about people working from home, we're seeing companies now saying, hey, this is a better work model. I'm getting more, out of my employees working from home, because they take that half-hour break and they feel like, okay, well, I worked a half hour, I took off a half hour, so I got to work till 6 o'clock. And they're working longer hours, so they're getting more done. And that was a drawback, because now employers expect that. And now we're going back the other way. They're like, no, I got to have a work-life balance. I'm checking out at 5 o'clock. And part of the, issue that Nike was having was similar, and they're now starting to rotate the schedule where you're in 3 days, off 2 days at home, and they're going back and forth with that. Is how do you make the employees at home feel like they're part of the organization? And some of the tools that we talk to, organizations is have them conduct a meeting. when you're having a team meeting like this, have them conduct it. Say it's your turn to conduct the meeting this week, because now you're making them feel like they're part of this. They have to prep for the meeting. They have to lead it. They have to have the topic. So engaging them, even though that they are working from home. Other questions? Thank you, Tony. Our employees are great and engaged, but it's waning as they are frustrated that they can't seem to hire more people. We try, but 75% of the interviews don't even show up. That is the challenge, isn't it? We have an organization that we're doing a private training for called Express Employment, and they're trying to get good quality employees to go out to the organizations and fill those needs. And it's one of the hardest things right now is to finding good employees. And yes, it's a hard balance for employers. We have a challenge. We need to keep the employees that we have, but we can't get enough to fill in the spots. And they get frustrated because they have to fill in the hours and make up that. And so then they go look for another organization that is not going to require them to work so hard. I wish I had a magic formula to tell you that that's going to go away, but until we can get more people, it's hard. So what can you do to offset those, frustrations of the employees you have now? Thinking outside the box. I mean, this is a team that's talking about this. What can we do to make sure that an employee doesn't leave because they are working extra and there's a shortage and they feel like they have to do more work? Any ideas, thoughts? Nobody has any, come on. And I heard, Nike does this, and I thought it was outstanding. And I mean, small business can't do it, but they give their employees a week off with pay for stress break. And they did that during the pandemic, and now they're making it a routine thing every year. And they rotate it around. They don't have all the employees go off for the same week because then they'd be shut down, but they rotate it around. So maybe it's, hey, I understand we're short-handed. I need you to work, some extra weeks here. Every 4th or 5th week, I'll give you off, 2 or 3 days for personal time to make up for you having to work hard. And you just got to plan how you're going to do that. And maybe it's 2 employees a week. Maybe it's 1 employee a month. I mean, whatever it is, create some ideas that are going to help them be engaged. And the best way to start, ask them. Say, I know you're frustrated. I'm doing everything I can to get new employees. What can I do to help you to feel like you're part of the organization? Because I really admire you. I really respect your effort that you do here. And by the way, do you know any people that you would recommend to start working here? That's one of the other levels of engagement. If they have pride in your organization, they are talking about it. And you can, have them go and talk to their friends. Hey, do you know anybody that wants to come here? Talk to your friends, talk to family, help them, have them help you find employees, because that's the best resource for you right now is your team.
Okay, Ashley put in the chat referral bonus.
Sure, absolutely. I was really shocked driving by, McMinimum's out there off of Cornelius Pass, and they were looking for a cook, and it was a while back. $5,000 signing bonus for a cook. I'm like, really? Hey, I'll go sign up for a cook and get that $5,000. I mean, we have to come up with creative ideas to, offset this shortage of employees. But once we have their team, we need to keep the team that we have engaged, because if we stop focusing on them, we're just going in a circle. We get the new employee, they feel like they're part of the organization, they get burned out, they leave, and they go somewhere else. And now you're back in the hole and you're never catching up. And it's a cycle. And so we got to stop the people from leaving that we have now before we focus mainly on getting new folks. Because you 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Which way you want to be?
Kevin, I might suggest, like for a small business, a profit sharing, and maybe like on a weekly basis while you're short staffed and you've got folks that are stepping up and filling in those gaps, working extra time. I mean, obviously that's keeping a small business solvent and open with their doors open. Potentially, it could be just an incentive to be a part of the solution and feel like they're being recognized for helping the small business make it from, from day to day, understanding that they're still continuing to recruit. And when they get back to full staff, maybe that changes. But I think just, saying, hey, you're contributing to be a part of the solution. We're going to compensate you for helping us maintain, our business model.
Absolutely. And the best way to find out what works for your team is ask them. I mean, it's amazing what happens when you get a team together and you say, hey, here's the situation, we're shorthanded. How can we make it profitable for you to stay here until we fix this situation? What can we do? What is it that's going to help you, motivate you to stay? Make them feel part of the conversation, because if they're part of the solution, like Deanna said, they'll feel like, okay, my owner of the company is asking me my opinion and they value what I have to say. I'm going to do that. So, and they buy in on it. Other questions, comments, thoughts? And by the way, this isn't going away soon. I mean, they've talked about it's probably about a 4-year stint before we actually fill the employee gap that we have right now. And it's just that there's not enough new employees coming, new people coming in out of school to fill the jobs that were vacated during the Great Resignation. So it's going to be here for a while. And, we need to focus on the engagement part of this to keep the employees we have so we don't lose them.
Well, so here's a question. With your studies and your data, are you finding that these job shifts, the mobility is more horizontal instead of upward, meaning they're moving to positions either very similar, maybe with more salary, maybe not, but potentially different perks, extra day off, work 4 days, or I can work 3 12s and I'm off 2 days or something like that. And it's not that they're going from team member to a lead or a manager position. Are you finding that in your data that it's more horizontal mobility?
I gave a couple of examples that the engineer that left a company that he'd been there for 15 years and went to the same position, same level, same pay, everything. And it's just because he was able to work from home on Mondays and Fridays, which is what he needed. My son, he got promoted, and he kept having to do more and more and more and more. And he's doing his job, his manager's job, and his manager's job. And he said, no, I'm not doing this. And he went back to work for a company, same position that he was before, same level that he was now, same pay. He took less pay because it was more, applicable to him to work-life balance. He says, I can't do everything they want me to do. Now, the other thing that we did hear, a lot of companies are focusing on 10-hour workdays, 4 10s instead of the 5 8s to kind of compensate that. Because then they can, hey, I can have people work 4 10s, give them 3 days, 2 days off, 3-day weekend or whatever it is. And so then they found out that they can change their shifts because they have their operation hours and it goes to 9 o'clock. Well, if I have 2 people doing 10s instead of 3 doing 8s, I cover that shift. I have 1 extra person that I can put into a different day, and now I can fill those voids. And maybe it's a temporary solution. It's like, hey, we're working 4 10s until we can get the staff to go back to the 5 8s.
So now, do you think employers are, well, first part, are they running out of options? Because here's another part. You would think the employer themselves would look at the market stressors, the things that are stressing employees and whatnot. There's inflation, pay rate compared to market value, or those willing to pay over market value, excessive hours, work hours, and workload for current employees. Those are things that the employer should be able to see, but are they running out of? Because there's a lack of workforce, are they running out of options of how to mitigate any of these stressors?
I would say that most of it is the managers aren't focusing on that. Owners, managers are focused on one thing, and that's profits. Are we profitable? And they're like, okay, hey, we're taking a hit. We took a hit during the pandemic, and now we got to go this way. Well, hey, guess what? We don't have the staff to do it. I talked to an organization. They said we have more cells coming in than we can manufacture because we don't have the employees to do it. And that's the supply chain issues that you're seeing all over the world. It's not just here. And so what do? And they're like, we got to stay profitable. We got to, increase sales. We got to do this. It's like, we need to stop and say, hey, I need to slow down the sales process. Say we only take X amount of jobs per month until I have the staff to keep, go the upscale, and look at that long-term, short-term. What is the effect of that? But as a manager, we're focused on profits, owners, profits. And we look at money. Well, you're not going to be profitable if you can't keep up with the supply, and your customers start looking for other resources to buy the same product that you have. So you need to limit it and give them good quality service until you have the staff to be able to continue to grow and increase your sales.
We've seen had a lot of articles floating around about the 8-hour workday, 40-hour work week, and how there's the 80-20 scenario. And do you see a lot of information on that, where it's really not, employees don't need to be working 8 hours a day to be productive? And have you seen companies that are changing that and potentially working either 4 8s versus 4 10s or 6-hour days, or making those adjustments and seeing an increase in productivity?
And that's the key. And it's how do you arrange that? I know that there's one of our companies, I can't mention their name, they're actually looking at, okay, if we cut our hours back of operation, can we allow our employees to work 4 8s and keep up with that demand, but then we have enough employees to cover all the shifts, and we can have working 8 days, 7 days a week, because we have employees on every day, but we're going to cut our hours back and do the 4 8s. And yeah, I mean, they're talking about it. I've heard a lot about it. I haven't seen it in action yet. Most of the companies I heard are doing the 4 10s. They're having the employees go to 4 10s, maybe cut back a little bit on their operation hours, but the 4 10s seem to give them enough people to be working and covering the time that they're open, and they need the production to be going. So,
Kevin, I would say that the chamber initiated 4 8s in January of 2022, and we have half of our team that takes Fridays off and half that takes Mondays off. And every quarter they switch those days so that not everybody gets a Friday off all the time. And I find that we're, as a nonprofit business organization, we're never going to be able to keep up with the compensation for private sector. But what we can do is potentially give people time. And so we have all of our team, I don't do it, but all of our team has a 3-day weekend, so to speak, either a Monday off or a Friday off. And it's worked well. It took a while for it to settle in, and for us to figure out who's here when, and to adjust our expectations of just work product that we could get from somebody. If maybe it's on a Tuesday, we're going to get that assignment complete versus on a Friday.
Yeah, and that's a great idea, because it's a flexibility. You're going to keep your team there because they have a flexible work hours. They get an extra day off a week. They enjoy it. It's like, yeah, all right, I get a 3-day weekend.
Well, and we didn't adjust their salaries at all in terms of, so it's the same pay for 4 days as opposed. So there's, obviously some expectations around that, that people are able to get, their tasks complete and their jobs complete. But I think definitely we as a nonprofit organization don't have a lot of flexibility with compensation. And so really looking for ways that we can give time versus money.
Yep. And that's a great solution. I mean, I've heard that it was a little different, but how they did it, but yeah, it's a creative way of keeping your team engaged and giving them something that they wouldn't get somewhere else, and they still make the same amount of money that they were before. So give an inch.
Okay, do we have any other questions before we get ready to close up today? I don't see anything in the chat. Anyone else have anything here? Okay. All right, thank you, Kevin, of Dale Carnegie, for your insightful and timely presentation. I thought it was great. A lot of information for businesses, employers and employees, actually. Thank you very much for doing that. If anyone has any further questions, feel free to contact Kevin directly, and I will drop some of his contact info in the chat right now. So feel free to reach out to him. And thank you once again to our sponsor, Yellow Dog Consulting. And we hope to see you all on November 16th for the next SBSS series presentation to learn which social media platform is the right one or multiple ones for your business niche. So make sure you come out for that. With that, I think we're done. And I'm sorry, make sure I didn't miss anything. So that, the next one is November 16th, same time, 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. And that will be presented by Rochelle Newmeyer. And like I said, she'll be talking about the right social media platform for your business. So we hope you all register for that one, and we'll see you next month. Thank you for coming.